There are three typical approaches to appraising a piece of real estate. They are the sales comparison approach, the cost approach, and the income approach. Let's take a look at the cost and income approaches, and then we'll discuss the sales comparison approach separately. Cost approach. When an appraiser is determining the value of the home, the cost approach method assumes some things. One of the assumptions used for the cost approach is basically that the cost of the home should be nearly equal to the price to build a property that matches it. So, if you're valuing a 4-bedroom ranch, you're going to want to know what it would cost to build the same property in that neighborhood. Income capitalization approach. This is used particularly if a neighborhood has numerous properties that are investment properties. First, the capitalization rate is obtained, which means taking the market value of the property and dividing by the net operating income. Then, the value is calculated based on the potential net operating income from rents the owner could collect and dividing it by the capitalization rate. This might sound confusing. However, remember that for the income capitalization approach, there are three numbers that play an important role: the net operating income, the capitalization rate, also known as cap rate, and the property value. Once you know two of these numbers, you will be able to determine the third. What is the sales comparison approach? Nearly all residential properties are valued using the sales comparison approach. Sales comparison approach means that we are going to compare one property against the most recent sales of properties in a neighborhood. One of the best ways to do this is to find properties that were sold recently. Direct sales comparison approach works better if the neighborhood experiences a period of numerous sales. Generally, a real estate appraiser will look at homes in the immediate area which were sold within the previous 6 months. The properties should be comparable. For example, if you are valuing a ranch, you would want to compare it to another ranch and not a single-family property. The properties must be similar in scope and size as well. We will touch on this more later on in this lesson. Identifying the sold properties. Appraisers will search numerous public records for data, including records from the clerk in the county, MLS services, etc. The most important part the appraiser will need is to make sure the properties were sold in an arm's length transaction and they are as similar as possible to the subject property. An arm's length transaction means the parties were not related in a matter that could have resulted in their getting a favorable price or financing to purchase the home. In many cases, this step will be the most challenging and one of the most time-consuming. Appraiser's approach to sales comparison. The primary way an appraiser will start the sales comparison approach is to look at the other sales of properties in the area. This will give them a baseline to start the process. Again, we'll go back to our statement earlier. You don't want to compare a ranch home with a single-family home. The best way to get a good sales comparison is to use properties which have as many similarities as possible. The closer the homes are in style, size, location, and age, the easier it is to take this approach. It is also important to keep in mind the appraiser is going to bring the home that is the subject of the appraisal more in line with the properties they are comparing. In other words, if all other homes in the comparison are 3 bedrooms and the home you are looking to evaluate has 2 bedrooms only, then the appraiser will assign a lower value for the 2 bedrooms home. Let's look at the method an appraiser is going to use to fine-tune this appraisal. Sales comparison, Understanding the steps. Step 1. Property identification. One of the first things that you'll need is to find properties that are similar to the property being valued. This means looking at the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, the size of the lot, and the property location. Whenever possible, homes that are in the same neighborhood should be used for comparison, and the most recent sales considered should not be older than 6 months. The closer the proximity, the closer the sale date, and the more like each other the properties are, the easier the appraisal will be to complete. Other factors that will impact the property valuation is similar sales. For example, if someone was facing foreclosure and they sold their home to avoid foreclosure, this is considered a fire sale, and the property may actually be worth more than what it is sold for. Step 2. Compare the properties. Generally, the appraiser will look at 3 similar properties. The first step is to determine the average square footage value. This is done by looking at 3 similar properties that were previously sold. Then, the appraiser will sum up the sales prices and divide them by the sum of all the square footage of the 3 properties in order to obtain the average square footage price. Here is an example that will illustrate this. Let's assume we have 3 similar properties. Property 1 has a size of 1,500 square feet and a sales price of $125,000. Property 2 has a size of 1,600 square feet and a sales price of $135,000. And Property 3 has a size of 1,550 square feet and a sales price of $127,600. First, we would have to sum up all the sales prices to come up with $387,600. Then, we will sum up the square footage of the 3 properties, which comes up to 4,650 square feet. To determine the average price per square foot, we would need to divide the total sales prices by the total square footage. $387,600 divided by 4,650 equals $83.35, which is the average price per square foot. Therefore, if the subject home we are looking to evaluate is 1,650 square feet, the value of the property is $137,527.50. We determined that by multiplying 1,650 by $83.35. Home capacity. If the subject home has more bathrooms or additional bedrooms compared to the home sold, the appraiser would then take the cost of construction of new bathrooms or bedrooms and add that to the value. Let's assume the 3 homes we used earlier all have 3 bedrooms and 1.5 baths, while the home that is being valued has 3 bedrooms and only 1 bath. The appraiser would then adjust the price by the construction costs of 1/2 bath. Other factors which may result in the value of the home being increased or decreased include finished versus unfinished basements, attached garages versus unattached garages, etc. These are all going to play a role in the final value of the subject property. Home condition, age. Appraisers will also apply debits and credits to the value of a subject home based on other factors, including the size of the lot the property is built on, age of the roof on the property, age of appliances and fixtures in the home, and how well the property is maintained. For example, if the roof is brand new, the subject home would get a boost in value. If the bathrooms are from the 1970s, then the value would take a hit since the investment would be required to bring them up to the same standard as the comparable sales. Rights, Location, financing. Appraisers will review what property rights are involved in a transaction. For example, some properties may have specific rights of way given up to a neighbor. They will also factor in neighborhood location, particularly if the comparable sales are outside a specific subdivision or neighborhood, in order to ensure the value of the subject property is as close to the actual value as possible. Financing terms may also play a role. For example, if no lenders are offering new 30-year mortgages and the comparable sales all had more favorable terms, the subject property may be valued slightly lower. In some cases, the appraiser may use a percentage rather than a fixed number to account for these differences. Step 3. The final valuation. Once all the comparisons are done, the appraiser will then take all deductions and additions into consideration and reach a final property value. The final report issued by the appraiser will be used by the buyer, seller, lender, and will also be used by the insurance company. If you're the real estate broker, this appraisal may also change your approach to how you're marketing the property if it is for sale. Why appraisals matter to you. As a real estate professional, part of your role will involve making sure a seller has a realistic idea of what their property is worth. In many instances, without the help of an appraiser, you'll be asked to provide an estimate of the value of the property. The sales approach comparison may provide you with sufficient data for you to make an estimate on your own. However, only an appraisal that is performed by a trained professional will give you an accurate property value that will be accepted by lenders, buyers, and sellers.